Ever wondered what life would be like on Mars? Red skies, no breathable air, and freezing nights? Sounds wild, right? But here's the thing about us humans, we're naturally curious. We explore. So, what if humans lived on Mars? Let's find out. Of all the planets in our solar system, Mars is the most similar to Earth. It has seasons, polar ice caps, made of water ice by the way, and geological features that suggest it once had flowing rivers and maybe even oceans. Think about that for a second. Ancient Mars might have been a lot like Earth. Now it's a bit colder than what we're used to. But it's also relatively close to us, cosmically speaking, of course. That's why organizations like NASA, SpaceX, and other space agencies around the world believe Mars could be humanity's backup planet, our second home, someday. Okay, before you pack your bags for that one-way trip to Mars, let's be real, living there wouldn't be a walk in the park. It would be more like a spacewalk, and a challenging one at that. First off, gravity. On Mars, you'd weigh about 38% of what you weigh on Earth. Think about that. You could jump higher, lift heavier objects, and you'd feel incredibly light. Sounds fun, right? But long-term exposure to low gravity could weaken our bones and muscles. Then there's the air, or lack thereof. Mars' atmosphere is super thin, about 1% the density of Earth's, and it's mostly carbon dioxide. Not exactly breathable for us oxygen-dependent humans. You'd need a pressurized suit or live in sealed habitats just to take a breath. And don't even get me started on the temperature. The average surface temperature on Mars is a bone-chilling minus 63 degrees Celsius. But hey, at least the sunsets on Mars are blue. Let's talk about the essentials: food, water, and power. To live on Mars long-term, we'd need to figure out how to sustain ourselves. Luckily, scientists have some pretty ingenious ideas. For starters, we could grow food using hydroponics, a method of growing plants without soil, just water and nutrients, inside climate-controlled greenhouses. As for water, well, Mars has plenty of it, but it's mostly frozen beneath the surface as ice or locked away in those polar ice caps. But with the right technology, we could extract that ice, melt it, and purify it for drinking and irrigation. The most likely sources of energy on Mars would be solar panels, which would work pretty well since Mars gets a decent amount of sunlight, or even small modular nuclear reactors for more consistent power generation. So, how do we even get to Mars? Right now, with current technology, it takes about 6 to 9 months to travel the vast distance between Earth and Mars. That's a long time to be cooped up in a spaceship. But companies like SpaceX are developing fully reusable spacecraft like Starship that could potentially shorten that travel time and make trips to Mars more frequent and affordable. NASA's Artemis program, which aims to return humans to the moon, is also a stepping stone for future missions to Mars. They're developing the technologies and expertise needed for deep space exploration, which will pave the way for eventual human missions to the Red Planet. But let's be realistic. Even once we figure out how to get to Mars and land safely, building a permanent human settlement will be a monumental task. Imagine this. You wake up one morning, look out your window, and instead of your familiar earthly surroundings, you see the reddish-brown landscape of Mars. The sky above is a pale butterscotch color during the day, and at night, it's filled with 1 billion stars, brighter and clearer than we've ever seen them on Earth. Life on Mars would be different, that's for sure. For one, the Martian day, called a sol, is about 40 minutes longer than an Earth day. And a Martian year is almost twice as long, clocking in at 687 Earth days. Depending on the positions of Earth and Mars in their orbits, there would be a time delay of up to 20 minutes for messages to travel back and forth. Think about that, sending a text message and waiting 20 minutes for a reply. Living on Mars isn't science fiction anymore. It's a real possibility, a challenge that humanity is actively working towards. It won't be easy, that's for sure. But with enough innovation, courage, and that insatiable human curiosity, the Red Planet might just become humanity's next great adventure. Until next time, keep looking up.